Okay, so today in this video I'm going to go over edges. I'm going to teach you how to solve them with your eyes open using the blind method, because I won't be going over memorization just yet. I mentioned blind works by swapping pieces around until the cube is solved. So there are two algs for swapping edges, the T-perm and the JB permutation. As you can see, these two edges were swapped in the T-perm and these two edges were swapped in the J-perm. This is the buffer piece, sticker B. All edges will swap from here into their correct spots. Having two algs to use, you have two positions in which you can set up the target slots, namely D with the T-perm and C with the JB perm. Let me show you an example. As you can see here, we start by looking at the buffer piece, and that needs to go into this position. So we need to either insert it into D or to C. Now this one can easily be inserted. This specific sticker, remember we can't just insert the piece. This specific sticker can be inserted into D by one move. Note you cannot disturb any of these three pieces because I will mess up the cube, but the rest of the pieces you can disturb before the algorithm. Okay, so we set it up, do the swapping alg, and undo that setup move. Here's another example. In this case, we again start by tracking at the buffer piece, which is sticker B, and this goes to this position, which is K. Now, you need to either insert this again to D or to C. Now, there are many ways to do this, but the easiest one is to do a D prime and then do an M prime move to put it into the C position. Now this didn't move any of these three pieces, so it's fine, we can do that. Now we're going to be using the JB permutation to swap these two pieces and undo. There's a list of setups for each piece in the description, but you should try and figure them out yourselves. Some are more difficult than others, but most of the edge setup moves are quite easy. One of the trickier ones is probably this one here, which is E. You just need to take it out of the M slice, so put it down in the bottom, D prime, and then L2 into a T-perm setup. Okay, here's an example with two pieces that need to be solved. Okay, so you can see we start again by the buffer piece. That's how you start tracking when you get your scrambled cube. And we see this goes to this position, which is L, and then this goes down there, which is W. We set up L into D because that's the easiest one. So either do that, or you can move the entire D to D pieces, doesn't matter, and then insert into the D slot. So L, now it's into the D. We do the T permutation and undo in that order. Okay, now the next one we have is W. Now you can do this by doing a D L2, which is probably the easiest, but there's an alternative M2, which sets it up into C, which you can then do a J perm. As you see, during the second, between the first and the second alg, these two corners swapped. You don't have to worry about that because every second piece that you solve, these will swap back into their correct positions. Oftentimes you reach the buffer piece, but not all the edges have been solved. Here's an example. We start off by looking at the buffer, and this goes to M. And this piece is the buffer. So a new cycle has to be made, since this piece doesn't go anywhere except where it is already. So we need to solve it into an incorrect position so that we can from there solve on the next pieces until the cube is solved. So from M, let's do M quickly. We now need to cycle break, and I decided to do L. Next, this goes to R, then to P, and then to F. When you reach the same piece as the cycle you broke to, you know I have completed the cycle. So we cycle broke to L, and since we then went on to do R, P, and then we came back to F, we ended up at the same piece that we cycle broke to, because we cycle broke to L. And that means that the cycle is over now, and the cube is either solved or there are flip pieces or other cycles to break into. The other thing that can happen is a flip piece. This means it's in the correct place, but not correctly orientated. This is like a mini cycle. All you do is shoot to the one sticker of that edge, like a cycle break, and then continue on with the cycle. And if you cycle break to L, if you had to continue, you would then go to F. So basically, you just shoot to each side of that edge. So L and then F, or F and then L, it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's start, we'll do F first. And then as you can see, it's like a normal, just as a normal would go, L. Okay, let's go over an example solve. I use the edge only scramble. The scramble is on the screen. Don't worry about memorizing now, we're just focusing on how to execute it. Okay, so starting at the buffer piece, we go M, E, X, L, O, U, R, D, V. Now this goes to the buffer place, so either the cube is solved or we have more pieces unsolved around the cube that weren't included in the cycle. In this case we need a cycle break. So I'm going to go to J because I notice that we haven't solved any of these two back pieces. So we're going to go to J, that leads us to N, and then that goes back to J, which means the cycle is ended and either the cube is solved or once again there might be another cycle. You can guess and say, okay, we already had a lot of letters, I probably finished the cube by now. A nice formula for edges is to take the number of letters you memorized minus the amount of times you have cycle breaked minus the amount of flip pieces you have. This should give you 11. So if we go over the amount that we did, we had 12 letters in total in the end. These 12 letters, if we put it into the formula, we take the amount of letters that we memorized, 12, minus the amount of cycle breaks, we cycle breaked once, that makes it 11, minus the amount of flip pieces, and there aren't any, gives us 11. That means we have solved all of the edges on the cube. Okay, let's go through the execution. M, E, X, L, O, U, R, D, which is just a T-pum, there's no setup, V, and now as you can see this is solved, so we had to make a cycle, which was then J, N, and J again. Okay, that's it for this part of the tutorial. Go practice on solves like this, just open-eyed execution. I'll see you in the next part where we'll teach you how to solve the corners. Thank you for watching and see you.